that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen and proudly welcoming you to this Friday's edition of For the People on this August the 18th, 2017. I'd like to say that today that I have some good news, and I do have some, but there's a lot of bad news in our world, a lot of frustrating things that have happened, and when I signed off yesterday, later on throughout the day, we learned in Barcelona that there was a terror attack there, and the death toll overnight has risen. And here it is. I am enjoying my coffee and went to one of my favorite coffee places after dropping off my daughter at Hyde Park Cafe in South Tampa. And, of course, they're talking about the Confederate figures coming down and such, and kind of getting their take on everything, and we're going to be talking more about that because there's been some new developments in that and some others that have lended their voice to the conversation, some CEOs, and one from Starbucks. Talk about him and what he is saying, and kind of hits on some of the conversation that I had with this store owner this morning, which was kind of interesting how things kind of fit together and make for a show. So you're in for a good show and a common sense show and something that is thoughtful. And I always talk from the heart, and yes, I do engage the brain too. So if that offends you, that I use my brain, then you may want to find a brainless channel. There's a lot of good chatter on CNN, the fake news network. If you're looking for that, you may want to try to find somebody that talks your language. But it is always with a conservative point of view. I am not alt-right, whatever that is, neo-Nazi, or, I mean, our listeners know this. I wouldn't say we're for the people unless, I had a heart for all people, all races, all faces. I'm an American, and I love this country. Though my religion might tell me that I don't like certain things that happen in our country, I have a soft spot for people from all over the world, and Barcelona no different. These people have gone through hell, mowed down, just unbelievable. One of the most busiest tourist destinations in that area. There is some chatter over here saying, we warned our government warned them, our Secret Service, etc. Well, not the Secret Service, but, the FBI, the CIA specifically warned that there was intelligence showing that there was some chatter with ISIS and said that, but they didn't have anything definitive to go on. It's really hard to do that when they're using vehicles. They used a car, folks, if you're just hearing this, to plow into pedestrians in Cambridge, about 80 miles south of Barcelona. This woman, first fatality of the attack in the popular seaside town. I mean, it was just packed. A fourth person was arrested today in connection with the terror attack that killed at least 14 people. So the death toll up to 14 people in Barcelona and the resort of Cambridge. That's the second place. I kind of skipped that a little bit here. There was so much information that was coming in so fast yesterday afternoon, even into the evening, about how this story unveiled, this tragedy unveiled in Barcelona. They thought it was a very small network, thought it was 1-2 people, then it ended up 3 or 4 people, and it just went on and on and on and on all night long, and try to figure this out here. What we know. Police searching for the driver of a van who plowed into a busy pedestrian thoroughfare in Barcelona, Spain. Yesterday, it was intentional, targeting people in a terrorist attack, and it was claimed by ISIS immediately. 13 people were killed, scores injured. That was the initial report. Now, like I've said, 14 now. And hopefully no more to die, but several injured in the hospital. Hours later after that, the police fatally shot 5 suspects in the seaside town of Cambridge, which is 70 miles to the southwest and of Barcelona. The suspects, who the police said were wearing vests with fake explosives, had driven an Audi A3 on a sidewalk, killing 1 person and injuring 6. So basically, what we know in Barcelona, just before 6 p.m. local time, a van jumped a curb, began speeding down the pedestrian walkway at the center of Barcelona's most famous street, Las Ramblas, a tree-lined boulevard with locals and tourists. And the van continued for 1,600 feet, leaving a trail of bloodied bodies in its wake. And it came to a halt on the top of a tile mosaic by the Spanish artist Joan Miró, and the driver escaped on foot. And then what happened in Canberra is 8 hours after the attack in Barcelona, the Catalan police, they confronted the 5 suspects, and they were all shot. They were killed. And they had suicide vests on, believing that they were trying to throw the police off. So the police arrested 2 men yesterday, neither of whom is accused of driving the van. A Spaniard from Spanish territory of Morocco was arrested, and where the police said that they were investigating a possible link to what was initially believed to be a gas explosion there on Wednesday. There was several house explosions, too, earlier in the week. All this is believed to be part of a much bigger cell. And according to authorities, this is much bigger than any of them ever thought. And again, the authorities still searching for the driver of the van. They said they were looking for a man identified as Musia Akbar, who was either 17 or 18 years old. It was not clear if the police believe he was the driver. So anyways, that's what we know here. That's what the news is reporting, and this is pretty consistent with most of the newspapers and sources that I follow online that are trustworthy. And details have only began to emerge about the dead and injured, who the Spanish authorities said were from at least 34 countries. And from our own country, 1 American dead. Very sad, folks. ISIS is still a reality. ISIS, even over here, they're here. I mean, there's ongoing investigations in all 50 states here in the United States. They're here. But the propaganda continues to recruit on Inspire, of all names that they could use, Inspire magazine, to inspire people through social media, through the internet. They're able to still stoke these fires. This poisonous, venomous ideology is really what it is. Who I can't for the life of me understand, but it gets into these minds as a poison, and they do these awful things with the guarantee that Allah is going to bless them. But very, very sad news, and we are on high alert here in the United States. High alert. Most major cities right now on standing guard because there have been some threats for our subway system, transportation hubs, large assembly areas. And so we're kind of just doing that. And usually that's standard operating procedure, if you will, when there's something overseas. But there has been chatter. But the latest is attacks on our transportation. And since they can't really get to our planes like they once did, now that's a new tool. They can, and how scary, folks. Get into a van, get into a truck, and just barrel into them 40, 50 miles, 60 miles an hour and just boom, boom, run over bodies. Just unbelievably sick, demented, deranged. But that's what these people are. They're very, very sick. We pray for the families, pray for those in Spain right now enduring such anguish. Can you imagine having a loved one? It affected many countries, as you heard. So people from all over the world are affected from this. It affects us here in the United States. And just to see this is another human being. And this ideology, folks, is steeped in tradition, folks. They're, in the Quran, people take this wrong. It does say to go kill the infidel, and it says it not just once, but dozens of times in the Quran. Some people say it's a corruption of the Quran, but it really does clearly say that we are the infidel and they're supposed to kill. There are peaceful Muslims that don't want jihad. I get this. I understand this, but this is definitely a religious war, and I've said this for a long time. Many people agree with me. It's a religious war. It's something, to me, it's end times revelation kind of stuff. I was talking to my wife the other day about all of this, and I said, do you remember any of this stuff going on? People being mowed down and ISIS in the 80s and in the 90s? No. This has been on the increase. I mean, yeah, there's always been murders, but not to this degree, not to the savagery, and the planning that goes into it. So now it's believed that even though that ISIS is on the run, we're slamming them in Syria and et cetera, and got them in Afghanistan, but they're on the run, and now they're just kind of reorganizing and planning their next plots and where they go. But they recruit young people. You heard 18, 19-year-old is the driver is believed to be. A young kid. A young kid. And what a waste of life. And for the lives that were mowed down. We're just a sad day. It was supposed to be a happy day. What a gorgeous place there in Barcelona. And you're getting old. I got to tell you, folks. I'm in my 40s here, but I'm thinking, God, didn't we just have the Barcelona Olympics? And I know, and I checked it, I asked Google, and that was like 99, 2000 or something like that. It didn't just happen, but it's every 8 years. So, yeah, but anyway, man, how time flies. But I enjoyed the Olympics. I always enjoy the Olympics. I think the last one was, in Africa, right? Anyway, so that's the deal. And then on top of all of that pandemonium going on, yet another happening in Finland, where police in Finland shot a person suspected of stabbing several people. A man who was not immediately identified was shot in the leg, according to the BBC. There's a lot of images on social media showing at least one body that had been covered laying on the ground. And the attack in Turku, a city on the southwest coast of Finland. And like I say, it comes just a day after the horrific vehicle assault in Barcelona. It killed 14 people now, wounded more than 100. 100. And there's no immediate information on this Finland incident. Had a nexus to terror. We don't know. But, it did happen, so I thought I would just kind of add that in there. It just, to me, when you see this happen, it's just a reminder that it's real. Terror exists. We've had it over here. We've seen it over here. Part of you says, wow, poor people over there in Barcelona and Spain, poor people, our hearts are with you, our prayers are with you. Thank God it's not happening here. But, folks, it could happen any day, any time. And it's so easy now with putting these images out to see what carnage, what ISIS can do. And, this kind of emboldens them in so many different ways. And a lot of cities and states now are going to have to really see what they can